All right, folks, we are now on the road to Pirate Fest. Kat is driving. Chris and Alice are in the back, and I am next to Kat, and it's kind of chilly.
It's nice. I like it.
Navy did not have uniforms in 1718. So the sailors with Maynard were dressed just like the pirates were. Everybody dressed the same way. So Blackbeard had no reason to suspect that he was in trouble. Now, the night before the battle, Maynard was smart enough to keep most of his men below deck before dark. And then once it got dark, they all came up, they started sharpening their cutlasses and everything. The next morning at 9 a.m., there was absolutely not a breath of wind. It was flat calm. And those two small sloops could actually be rowed with oars. They had huge, what they called sweeps. And so Maynard, he was anchored over by Beacon Island. And so he started ordering his vessels to row. And they had to get to where Blackbeard was at Stringer's Point, they had to row out toward the inlet. So even then, Blackbeard is watching them, and it's two sloops. They look like merchant sloops. They're headed for the ocean. But there's one difference. All of a sudden, there's 60 men on board these two sloops. And merchant sloops did not go to sea with 60 men. So Blackbeard knew there was trouble afoot. The sloops eventually came up towards Stringer's Point. And Blackbeard felt like he was cornered. I always thought that he could have gone to court and argued a wrongful death lawsuit because he was protecting himself. I'm not sure Blackbeard actually weaved through the spare ferry pilings. That's pretty clever there. But as Maynard was approaching, Blackbeard felt cornered. He was at anchor. There was no wind. So the other thing that's been misreported, they said Blackbeard had like 25 men aboard. He was one of 15 guys against 60. So he was really in a tight spot. So he ordered one of his guys to raise the anchor. They had three of their main, what they called their great cannon loaded. They were 6-pounder cannon lined up on one side. Blackbeard did not have enough men to reload the cannon. He could only fire one broadside. That was it. Then they had small arms. They had pistols and muskets. And again, what you're seeing out there is not an exact reenactment of what happened. So I'm telling you a slightly different story, but the story that actually happened.
Sorry, my big head.
So Blackbeard's, he's cornered, he's threatened, and they started shouting at each other. Blackbeard supposedly, according to a newspaper in Boston, shouted, "Who are you and from whence you come?" And Maynard said, "You can see by our colors that we're not pirates." What he was referring to by colors was the flag that was up at the top of the mast, but the flag was hanging straight down. The flag was the British white ensign, which looked exactly like that. The Union flag is in the what is called the canton, which is the upper left corner of the flag, and then the red cross is St. Andrew's cross, and that signified the white fleet of the king. But I'm not so sure that Blackbeard could recognize that flag. It might have just looked white, like they were surrendering. So Blackbeard said, well, I don't know who you are or why you're here, but I will give you no quarter. I'll take no quarter, I'll give you no quarter. And Maynard said, "It is you that we're here for, and we will take you dead or alive." Maynard's men, there were a number of bodies laying on the deck of Maynard's sloop. And so Blackbeard said, "Okay, we've killed most of them. Let's go and board them," which means let's run up against them and tie up to them, and then we'll finish off whoever's left. And that's what happened. Blackbeard supposedly was the first guy to jump over onto Maynard's sloop, and then Maynard shouted the warning, and all of his men came pouring up out of the cabin. And there were 12 Royal Navy sailors, and there were 10 pirates who engaged in hand-to-hand combat. And they fought for less than 6 minutes. That's how long the actual sword fighting part of the battle took place, 6 minutes. The whole engagement was only an hour long. So all the pre-maneuvers and sailing up to each other, that took about an hour.
There you go.
And then they got into the sword fighting. And in less than 6 minutes, all 10 pirates, including Blackbeard, were dead, and all 12 Royal Navy sailors were alive. Now, there are a number of, I won't name any names because I don't want to make any enemies, but there are some institutions, both state and federal, who claim that Blackbeard possessed inhuman strength. So if you go, I feel sorry for kids today, because if they have to do a school report or whatever and they go on the internet, they're going to learn all this false information. They said Blackbeard possessed inhuman strength. Well, he left it behind that day because he was killed. And none of the Royal Navy sailors were killed. In fact, when I speak to groups, I like to say that the score was 12-0. That means that the Royal Navy beat the pirates by 4 field goals.
Yeah.
And people from East Carolina University hate to hear that. They don't like to know.
All right, the last lighthouse, Ocracoke Island, the lighthouse. The last of the 3, like I said, shortest of the 3, and all white. Built in 1823. It's 75 feet tall, 4th in the order of Fresnel lenses, which are the types of lenses that are used in the tops. And it's a solid, steady light for the pattern of the light, so that's how the ships know. And it's seen from 14 miles away. Although these aren't wild ponies, we have a couple of the Ocracoke ponies. They are remnants of the ship ponies or the ship horses that were there, especially from the Spanish settlers. But these are a couple of examples of the horses that are known for this area.
Okay, so now culminating today's festivities of Pirate Jamboree, Blackbird Jamboree Festival, Last Stand, and TM. Anyway, we are now going to be going to Springer's Point Reserve, and this is, from what I am told, the location very near the last spot where Blackbeard was alive. This is the point where he was killed. So, we're going to start, of course, with every trailhead and deal with the information.
Famous hangout of Edward Teach.
Yes.
Okay.
This is his lair.
R.
R.
Avast.
And I think wasn't this where they trapped him and
Mm-hmm. This year, that Lieutenant Maynard defeated Blackbeard in a fierce battle in 1718.
So this is another hallmark moment in my prosthetic journey. I'm actually on a nature walk with my prosthesis. So this is the first time I've been able to do this. And it's been a year and a few days since I was first amputated. So we've reached the shoreline, and this is the inlet that is believed to be the area where Edward Teach had his last stand. So at this point, I don't know, I think we're going to be going back, but now Chris and Kat are off looking for shells. Alice is, of course, going closer to the water, and I am here sitting on a log because I just earned a W out of this for walking this with a prosthetic. So, or with my prosthesis. So I'm very happy about that. Chris and Kat are out there on the jetty looking for shells. Alice is over there doing her naturalist things because she's being biology person. Okay, everybody, good morning. This is our last day here. We are about ready to leave the hotel room that we had here in Durham. Okay, we were in Durham. Yeah, we drove all the way back. It was a long day yesterday. And now we're going to get ready to leave the hotel room, go to a lemur thing, encounter museum thingy, and then to the airport. And this is the room. There's Kat. There's Alice. There's Chris. There's the room behind me.
Very comfortable, very cozy. What we needed after 5 hours in the car.
All of us slept hard.
Yeah, we were good. So, getting good rest on our last day.
Indeed. Okay, we're gonna leave the hotel room now. See you in a little bit.
Hanging up now.
Okay, so we inevitably ended up doing the botanical gardens here on Duke University. It's a nice little spot. You do have to pay for parking because you're on campus. It's been a good trip. Everybody's tired. Everybody is ready to be home. And I'm right there with them. I'm ready to be home too. I miss the kitties and I miss being in my own house. So, other than that, it's a good trip. We had a good time. There is a lot more to do here in North Carolina than what we have done. All we did was the Outer Banks, really. And then this little bitty touristy thing. Oh yeah, a word of advice. Don't try to do anything on a Monday. A lot of things are closed on Monday. So there's that. But other than that, I think it's been a good trip. I think everybody's had a good time. But I think everybody's ready to be done.
Whoa, careful. I'm thinking about it. Oh, hello, girl. Yeah? What you think? Oh my goodness, you're coming at me here. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we are at the Raleigh-Durham Airport now, and we are at our departure gate. TSA was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It was very few people coming through. It's a very slow and low travel day here. It's also the fact that we showed up quite a bit early. Yeah, we are here, well, almost 3 hours before our flight. But, you know, that's the way we roll. I am sore today moving around, and moving through the airport is a little rough. I'm moving a lot slower, and it hurts. It hurts. But traveling with the prosthetic is not bad. I'm having an easier time of it than I anticipated. My biggest worry was TSA, and I had nothing to worry about. Absolutely nothing to worry about. Yeah, they did pull me aside for additional screening because I couldn't take off my shoes and I can't take off the prosthetic, so they got to swab me down, and that's fine. No big deal. I will give a little tip to travelers with prosthesis and those that get pulled aside for additional screening. Hand lotions and certain soaps will alarm for explosives, and the reason is because of the glycerin in those items. It will alarm. Be aware of that. Be mindful of what you have. Make sure you wash your hands, and wash your hands properly and thoroughly dry them. That way no residue is left over and you won't have any problems later on. Other than that, it's going to be a long trip. I'm going to be taking off my leg. I do have pre-board status, so I will be getting on among the first passengers to board the aircraft, and then I'm going to get on, go all the way to the back and save seats, and then probably pass out on the way home. Chris is buying me a neck pillow, and everything should be good from there. So anyway, it's been a fantastic trip so far, and I will see you guys when we get back in Denver.